Leonardo da Vinci said, "I cannot forbear to mention, among these precepts, a new device for study which, although it may seem trivial and almost ludicrous, is nevertheless extremely useful in arousing the mind to various inventions. And this is, when you look at a wall spotted with stains, or with a mixture of stones, if you have to devise some scene, you may discover a resemblance to various landscapes, beautified with mountains, rivers, rocks, trees, plains, wide valleys, and hills, in varied arrangement. Or again, you may see battles and figures in action, or strange faces and costumes, in an endless variety of objects which you could reduce to complete and well-drawn forms. And these appear on such walls confusedly, like the sound of bells, in whose jingle you may find any name or word you may choose to imagine." Leonardo da Vinci said that, and that is an amazing technique. It is one of my absolute favorite techniques, to look into nature, look into the world, look at a stain on the ground, look at a pattern in the woods. I actually saw a couple faces on the vines on the way in the roots. Looking inside on the patterns of a flower or anything, any kind of pattern. A lot of times in public restrooms they'll have cool patterns on the wall. Staring at patterns, letting illusions pop out. Different faces can be seen everywhere. I read somewhere that they traced that back to our ancestry, where we were constantly looking for faces amongst nature because we had to protect ourselves. That seems kind of interesting. I would kind of go with that. But it is an amazing tool, and it points to a lot of different things. Everything being an illusion is one of those kind of things, because your mind really can sometimes see something that appears so real within a cloud, within a swamp, within a plant, within a just collection of everything in nature. You might see something that pops out at a particular exact point of reference for you. Perfect. If you move this way even an inch, it might be totally different, but you can see it at the perfect moment. And if you're keen on observing those, you'll spot some amazing things pretty much everywhere, especially in nature. But it happens all the time. Even in you could be walking out of a store and seeing the amazing patterns in although it's bad, the oil stains that are on the pavement sometimes. You know, those have some cool colors and patterns, and you might see things, fractals. They're everywhere, and they're beautiful. And be observant of them, and definitely take the time to stare into them, because if you can stare into them and see things, you'll be able to stare at a white piece of paper and be able to see things. I project things all the time with art. I envision what goes on the next spot, and I think about it in various different ways. And this exercise of looking at these things in nature, finding them, helps. Also, if you know someone who does watercolor or do watercolor, just take some chaotic, or any kind of paint, take some chaotic stuff and just splash it, go nuts on a piece of paper, but don't stop there. Stare at it, see what comes out of it. Look, try to exploit things with pens, with pencils, with other different materials, and just see what happens. That's another great way. Look into the chaos, observe it, see what you can find, but find it in nature too. There's been a couple phases when I was really extremely into mandalas at the time, and I noticed just at certain points of observance in the woods, a circle would form, things that like all branches would kind of, there's almost one over there, a half circle. It's amazing. Things form all the time. The more you look too, the more you'll see. Go deep, go into it, go into the ice, go into the, get into weird little kind of perspectives that you wouldn't normally see, and a lot of people just kind of miss. You'll see some amazing things. Pluck out of your imagination whatever comes to mind. In the clouds, I once saw gods, like Hindu-esque, Tibetan-esque gods kind of circulating this thing, and the clouds kept going, and it kept evolving, the vision kept evolving. I've seen many landscapes. I call them green torbets. I'll tell you that another time. But always be on the lookout. Look in the clouds. Look on the ground. Look everywhere. Kind of observe. It's kind of fun. And sometimes you might get a laugh out of it if you're taking a moment too seriously. Sometimes these faces pop out, and it's like a bizarre face, like in a shell or something, and you're like, ha! Or it makes you laugh. The trickster at work. But nature does some amazing things, has some beautiful patterns, and the illusion that we see in our mind connecting with those things can be really powerful. There'll be more on that too. But your mind can envision a lot of things, and this practice is an ancient one, I guarantee it, and there is something that stems and goes back to the nature of consciousness in the universe in relation to this process. So just strengthen it. There's no telling where we as a culture can kind of evolved from this this little science that happens in the mind. Just free-form thought, kind of surrealist. Look at it. Transform your world into something else. See the different things. Move around. Check it out. Just look at it all. Enjoy it all. Bring it to your heart.